Sweet guys, welcome back to another episode of Sludge Underground. I have a special guest with me today, all the way from Stellenbosch, if I'm not mistaken. Guys, introduce yourselves and what it is you do.
Hello.
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 We are Dierbaar and we are a South African band, Afrikaans band.
Yeah, alternative Afrikaans music. It's important to us to talk about the things that Afrikaans people don't really talk about on a daily basis.
Yeah, and we've been making music for about a year or so now.
Yeah.
And a month, year and a bit. I'm Chris. That's part of the introduction. Chris, the drummer.
I'm Ninka, the bassist.
And I'm Janka and I'm a problem.
I find it interesting that you guys have been going for about, you said, a year. And you guys have gained a lot of ground, a lot of traction in a year. That must be one hell of an experience. I mean, you guys have been all over like my TikTok feed. I mean, that's how I found you in the first place. What can you guys attribute that to? Is it just like the work ethic of the band? Is it because you are so kind of uniquely different to what everyone else in the Afrikaans space is doing?
I think that there are a lot of similar artists to us, more than people would know, actually. But we all, we just sort of went into it 100% from the start.
Yeah.
Like everyone was really committed. How the band started was last year in Feb or so. We were in this room here in the back. Ninka and I were chilling. And she was like, let's start a band. Because I've been writing music for now like 13-ish years. And I never did anything with it. So I've just been writing. So
I was obsessed with her writing. Like, I would make her send me voice notes so that I could listen to it in the car.
Yeah, and then we just decided to do it. And it's just, we're so grateful for the responses we've gotten so far. I think, it just is the fact that we all really want to do this.
Yeah,
and we
being
really enjoy it.
being excited about it, I feel as well. It's like when I moved to Stellenbosch, I came here to study, and I was so keen and excited to find people who wanted to make music. And I struggled to find a lot of people, and then only in my second year, I stumbled upon these two who were also just very excited, very keen to make music.
Yeah.
And they're very passionate people, and that immediately grabbed my attention, and then we just went from there.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the musician jackpot when you find like-minded people just as passionate as you are. I can't express how rare of a feat that actually is. How many projects just don't make it off the ground because people can't find each other.
We are so grateful.
We talk about it like quite often where it's like just who we are as people as well. Like, if any of us were to like be replaced with someone else, it wouldn't work, because we are also like great friends. Obviously, Janka and I have been friends for like 5 years before we started the band. And then Chris became a friend very quickly. So I think like that's also why we work so hard, because it's fun. We don't feel like we're clocking in or like we're dealing with people we don't want to deal. Like it's just an excuse to hang out with your friends.
We just want to make music.
Yeah, and I have to say, the sort of indie label that we've been working with, Afrikaans, they make things so easy for us. It's a bunch of guys that have been in the industry for a while now. So a lot of the things that bands have to iron out in the first part of their journey, we didn't have to do because, it was sorted for us. So we're really thankful for them as well.
I want to touch on Africa in a little bit, but something I just want to touch on was something that you said in your introduction, is that you're doing music where you want to speak about things that Afrikaans musicians or people don't generally speak about. And what are those topics that you are, and how important is it to the identity of Dierbaar that it's in Afrikaans specifically?
I would say like the two sort of main topics that a lot of Afrikaans people don't talk about is mental health, right? And a queer experience, LGBTQIA+. So I am a lesbian, so a lot of our music, if not most of it, is written from that point of view. And I just think it's very important because, we don't have a lot of that in Afrikaans. Luckily, we've got a lot of music now about mental health and things like that, but in the Afrikaans culture, it's a recent thing that people have started caring about mental health and sort of that existentialism that comes with being in your 20s, where, you know, you used to visit your parents, or, you know, when you lived with your parents, your mom would have the nice dishes and the nice things, like the nice pillows packed away for the guests. And then she packs them out when they come and visit. Then you move out of the house. A few years down the line, you come visit. First time, your mom's packed out everything that's reserved for the guests. And you're like, shit, I've become a guest in my own parents' home. So things like that, I think that's quite important to talk about. And also swearing, you know. Angie Krog is one of the biggest poets in Afrikaans, and she's written a lot of feminist poetry. And she swears. And still, Afrikaans people are so sensitive to swear words. It's quite interesting that you wouldn't find a lot of music in which women swear. Angie Ooh was one of the few ones we had there for a while. Saucy does it as well, but in general, like, it's almost as if we're trying to restrict the way in which women express themselves a lot in Afrikaans. And as for why it's so important in Afrikaans, A, because of the culture at the moment, and B, because I tried writing full songs in English for like a decade and I could not. And then I just sat down, I was like, let me just try writing an Afrikaans song, and it just happened from there. Came out so easily.
I find it like extremely interesting that it's these topics are not being spoken about, and that it's so important for people to have music that kind of relates to them, specifically, like to their specific demographic of people. And you're 100% right. That is deeply important. I've personally kind of just been ignoring Afrikaans music for like the better part of a decade. And I ended up just at a couple of shows where Afrikaans bands were playing. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is not what I remember growing up with.
Yeah.
No.
I'm 31 now, so like you can imagine the Afrikaans music. I grew up in the West Rand, so you can imagine what I grew up with and what my experience with Afrikaans music was. And they recently went to a couple of shows and saw some bands like Menstorm, Dierbaar, and it was interesting that this change has happened while I've kind of been ignoring it, and now I'm kind of just diving straight into it. You guys, like individually as musicians, why alternative music specifically? Like what are your inspirations that kind of drew you into doing it? And then on top of that, also beyond the reasons of that you gave me of doing it in Afrikaans, um, what kind of inspired you guys to one, make the type of music you're making in the language that you're doing it in?
The first thing I want to say is that I don't think we had any particular sound in mind. The songs, I started writing most of the songs on my acoustic guitar, so that's sort of the vibe that they have, but we sort of just get together and play and see what comes out.
But our sound has like evolved quite a bit from what we thought it was going to be. When we started, we were originally going to be like two guitars.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that's not going to work. So then I started playing bass. And then we were just going to be a guitar and bass for a while.
Yeah.
And then we did...
one gig.
We did one gig like that. And it was fun. And then we did... we played with Francis Noriman as a supergroup for Battle of the Bands. And Chris drummed for us because he knew them.
I just showed up in my car with my drum kit in the car at Ninka's front door, and then like that was the first time I met them, was with my drum kit in the car here ready to play. I don't know what I signed myself up for, but then we spent the whole day making music, and then that's how it evolved almost naturally.
And this was before there was even a Dierbaar show. Like we didn't even have a first gig before we worked with Francis Noriman to do Battle of the Bands. But anyway, a bit of a tangent. A lot of people have asked us why specifically alternative Afrikaans music. It's interesting that a lot of people wonder about that. The answer that I often have is that it really does feel, when you're growing up as a bit of a strange or alternative person in Afrikaans, you realize when you're very young, some sort of song is playing and everyone's dancing, and you listen to that song and you go, why is this not affecting me the way it is affecting you? And you sort of become estranged from your own culture because you don't feel like you're being represented. You don't feel like there are like-minded people. So then you shy away. But then, and that's what happened to me. But then I started watching a lot of MCAR when I was younger. Now, if anyone doesn't know, MCAR was like a music channel. It was like the Afrikaans MTV, but it didn't play shit music. It played like really cool alternative rock and things like that. The music videos were fantastic. And, you know, that just, like, I saw that and I was like, there are people like me out there. Of course, I'm a 9-year-old and I am currently wearing a Tweety Bird t-shirt, but I know inside that me and Fransja van Coke are spirit animals. Um, yeah, so that was my experience, and then you sort of just delve back into it and you realize there's a community for you. But Chris and Nika had their own journeys.
I think the alternative scene ties in with this idea of, you know, being yourself unapologetically, and, you know, finding a group of people, like-minded people, and just, you know, being yourself and making music. And I feel like that's also ties in with how how the band started, is just coming together just as ourselves and seeing how things grow from there. Yeah.
I was very confused at first because I grew up quite alternative. Like my parents, my parents are quite alternative people. So I grew up when I was like 9. I was listening to Fok of Politiekar and Frans Verkouk and Koggensoid. Like that's what was playing in my house, what my parents were listening to. And then when we started this band, I didn't actually realize that we were alternative at all, because like people were like, oh, like talking about alternative artists, and they're like, Fok of Politiekar, and I'm like, what do you mean alternative? Like, that's literally what my parents listened to. And then I realized, like, oh, I didn't grow up like the rest of y'all.
Yeah, that was her Kurtaran.
That was my Kurtaran.
Fransja van Coke was her Kurtaran.
So, yeah, what a life. But, so to me, it like, I don't know, I just felt at home because it's like what I was used to.
I also, a lot of influences for me when I'm writing our songs are Afrikaans rappers, for instance, like Jack Barrow, because I like the way they play with how the language sounds. I think it's a language that you can play a lot with. And then I also, because of my parents that were quite conservative, I listened to a lot of like proper Afrikaans music, Koos Du Plessis, those people that really focus on the lyricism. Not that alternative artists don't, of course. Fok of Politiekar's music has been analyzed as part of someone's, thesis for university. It's beautiful. But to have that classic influence, I think, as well, is so important because you sort of need a holistic range of influences if you really want to create something with depth and texture.
Yeah, that's sick. It's so interesting that like a lot of your influences are like the local and Afrikaans guys, um, because a lot of guys who get into an alternative space and get into making alternative music, and this might just be my experience as an English boy, but I didn't know about the South African scene till quite late. Actually, it's quite funny considering how involved I am in it now, but like I didn't even know Prime Circle was a South African band until I saw them one time. And yeah, no, I was fucking clueless. Like it's a joke. It's really, um, but like a lot of my influences were like, that got me into alternative stuff was like Breaking Benjamin. Mostly a metal guitarist, so Killswitch Engage, Bullet for My Valentine, and those were kind of like my journeys into it. So when I eventually discovered South African music, that was like a whole new like cycle of inspiration and stuff like that. Most international bands shaped my taste in music. It's very interesting that you guys, it's a bit different, where the local guys had a bigger impact on the type of music you make now, and even getting involved in music. I was actually having a chat with my mother-in-law about this today, where it's like we were actually talking about MCAR, and I was like, as a teenager, I just saw it as the Afrikaans channel. Fuck it, I'm not going to watch that. And had I actually taken the time to watch it, I probably would have been. I probably would have loved it, knowing what I know now. So that's also just like a funny joke in hindsight. But it really fascinates me that these are the guys that had this effect on you.
Something that's very interesting, Jaco van der Merwe from Wêreld, he was also in Bitter Einder with Beach van Pletsen. He oftentimes says that it's so frustrating to him that on streaming services, Afrikaans is listed as a genre. Because it's simply a language, and to group everyone together like that is just insane. Imagine saying that there's French is a genre, or German is a genre, or English is a genre. So he oftentimes says that it's quite interesting, and I think that obviously the grouping of Afrikaans music together, there's a positive side to it to me and a negative side. So the positive side is that it actually creates a sense of community where it's like every artist is coloring in a bit of of a coloring page. Everyone has their place, everyone is contributing a part to form the whole of Afrikaans music. But the negative thing is also that, most people do know Afrikaans pop because pop is popular music. Most people are going to know that, and that's what's played in public. I think you would get arrested if you played Folk of Polisikar at a children's birthday party. I'm not sure, actually. Try and see. Let me know how that goes for you. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Doe was van beter en play Jack Barrow,
Ja, Boepens Vark, 100% volume.
Kosie se verjaarsdag.
Yeah, he's 5 now, he's old enough. Yeah, so it's a negative thing because a lot of people, as you've said, you yourself, you thought of Afrikaans music as this monolith, and it isn't. And I'm personally very excited to find even more Afrikaans music that I wasn't aware existed. Yeah. I know you're out there. Ek weet jy's daar. Kom vind ons.
I've never actually processed it that way until you mentioned it, where it's just Afrikaans music, that Afrikaans is listed as a genre, and like the sheer absurdity of it, actually, when you verbalize it, when you say it, is actually like, oh fuck, you know what, you're bang on, you're dead right. And yeah, you're right in terms of it being with the positives and the negatives. But like, for instance, I was having a chat with Linus from Menstorm, and like they apparently just get straight like hate mail from other Afrikaans people that they should just fucking kill themselves, apparently, because they're they're a disgrace to like Afrikaans music as a whole, which I think is pretty fucking unfair. Like
the vibe that people put out because I'm on TikTok, which means I see most of the hate comments. Okay, I see them all. I know what the people are saying. Let me tell you something about Afrikaans people. When an Afrikaans person, not me turning to them as if they don't know. Yeah. When an Afrikaans person is angry at you for something that you've done in the name of Afrikaans, they're not saying your music is kak. They tell you, you are kak. You are bringing down the culture as a whole. Which is, it makes you feel awful. It makes you feel absolutely awful. And this comes back to the fact that in Afrikaans, we don't distinguish between guilt and shame. The concept. It's not skuldig en skuldig, And guilt, you should feel guilt when you've done something wrong, when someone is making you feel guilty. But making someone feel ashamed is saying that something inherently about them is wrong. Yeah. If you've done something bad, you can apologize. If you are just bad, that's going to be a longer journey for you to fix. And so, Afrikaans people, they can be really, really cruel. But I have to say, along with the terrible things that people sometimes say, they say such nice things as well.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to say that they're very creative with it.
They are actually
very creative with that.
I have to say, Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I love seeing creativity from the Afrikaans sphere. We really need more of it.
Do you guys consider yourselves like to be like a new wave of Afrikaans music? Like, there's a group of Afrikaans artists who are currently like hitting the mainstream and they're becoming very popular, and their music is doing really well. Would you guys consider yourselves as part of like a new movement, like just a new wave of Afrikaans alternative music in general?
Yeah,
I would say that like Africult as a whole, like we are only like 10 bands at the moment. I think like the entire Africult family is like the new wave of alternative Afrikaans. Like there wasn't really a space where you could be alternative and kind of make it. Like it was like, okay, you have to play Suki music or we're not gonna pay you, like cheers. And now like with Africult, it's like they do everything that a label would do for you without telling you like you can't say this, you can't do that, and like trying to put you in a box. Like everybody is free to be exactly who they want to be, and I think that is almost unheard of in Afrikaans music. So I definitely think it is like a new wave of a way of doing things.
I think it is also the banding together.
But no.
But the banding together.
He's the drummer. He can't even do a bottom.
That really makes it feel like a new wave, because I feel like there's always, new bands, new musicians always pop up, but now like we've decided like, okay, I see you, I noticed that you're also doing this type of thing, and we like it, so let's get together and make it a wave. Let's do something about it, because we're noticing each other now, but now it's the next step of coming together and being that wave and working towards something that we all would like to.
It's also like, I think the new big thing is collaboration instead of competition. I think it used to be a bigger thing. Like if you saw another artist that's kind of doing something that you're doing, you would see them as competition. But like we haven't felt that at all from anyone or like towards anyone. Like it's like, oh, you like we're kind of doing the same thing. Like let's get together and do it together. Like just collaborating instead of pushing each other down.
I really like that sentiment of like collaboration. I mean, I saw, I didn't see it. I was still waiting in the queue when it happened. But Zon Sonnekhuis was on stage with Die Gemeente this past weekend at Ramfest. And that is an unlikely collaboration, like as far as anyone's concerned. I only recently discovered Zon Sonnekhuis. Fuck, I can't speak. I only recently discovered Zon. And like, I would never have expected him to get on stage with Die Gemeente, just from my experience of listening to him while once again researching for this whole like little project. And that's really fucking cool, because that introduces that crowd to a whole new musician and his crowd to a whole completely different genre. And that type of thing is also extremely important, because something, I don't know, there's a guy named Hardy. He's part of a band called Diverted Disorder, and the founder of Hardman Productions. And something he said the other day was really interesting, was that it feels like the alternative Afrikaans scene and the alternative scene in general are like two separate entities. They don't really work together. I don't know if that's something that you guys experience in Stellenbosch as well, or not so much. But he sees them as like two separate entities, especially when he's trying to like book shows. I don't know if that's your guys' experience as well.
I have to say, I don't completely feel that way, because we've been playing in Cape Town a lot with bands like Systematic. We're gonna have a show soon with like Mila Smith is gonna be there. A lot of amazing people. Static Cat is also gonna be there. So at least from our side, it feels that that bridge is sort of that gap is sort of bridged, but it does require a lot of it does require some effort to just get English and Afrikaans people together.
The thing also is like with these bands, like these English bands, most of the time they are actually Afrikaans people just playing in English.
Interestingly enough,
so it is actually quite easy to connect and like.
Yeah. Yeah, but maybe it's different up there in Joburg also.
Maybe that's actually like a really like a big possibility as well. Something of it, like a side note to add on to what you said about like these guys who write songs in English but they're Afrikaans. The absolute like shock horror when I heard the guys from Aching speak for the first time um a couple of years back, because like that also like this was like 2014,
Yeah.
2013. I was like, dude, these guys are like English poets. They got to be like English grad students. And it was like the thickest like Afrikaans accent I'd ever heard in my life. I saw them live for the first time. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I think it depends on the musician though, because if you feel, no matter which language is your home language, if you feel that you can express yourself best in English, then by all means do that. And if you're aching, please do that, because what you do is lovely, and we always want more. Um, but yeah, which is interesting because we also know of a band that does Afrikaans music, but they're English.
What?
Yeah.
So it's quite
Both
interesting.
sides of the spectrum can
Yeah,
exist.
the duality of man.
The duality of man.
That's a band I would like to ask why. Like that should be an interesting answer.
Honestly, I do not think they would be able to answer you.
Not in Afrikaans.
Not in Afrikaans.
Where do you guys see Afrikaans music heading like in the next few years or so? Do you think that like this will prompt like a change? Do you think that you guys, I'm sure like every musician hopes this in general, to inspire like a new generation of artists to kind of carry on with what they're doing?
Something, and this is maybe one of the reasons also that there are a lot of people coming out in the alternative Afrikaans scene at the moment. People are tired. People are tired. They are tired of hearing the same, themes in pop music. They're tired of hearing people that rip off English songs with instrumentals and then, just adding Afrikaans words to it. Just sort of, you can only listen to things like the same themes over and over again that many times. And not just that, but the same instrumentation as well. You would be, I think that's why we don't.
Progression.
I think that's why we don't have Noot vir Noot in Afrikaans anymore. That it was like a game show that people used to play where it was sort of like name that tune. But I think that's why we don't have it in Afrikaans anymore, because everything sounds the same. You would not be able to guess, even if they give you like 2 minutes of the song. You'd be like, there are at least 6 possibilities for me right now. So I just think people are tired. People want music with soul. It's been 5 years since COVID. A lot of people felt really isolated, and we're still dealing with a lot of the mental load that put on us. And people want to listen to things that they relate to now. This is not to say that there is not a space for Afrikaans pop. It's amazing. But there are songs you want to listen to on the dance floor, and then there are songs you want to cry to in the bathroom when you're taking a break from the party on the dance floor. And, they cannot be the same songs. They simply cannot. So there really is space for everyone.
Is that your guys' demographic? Is that
Yeah, we are for the losers who cry in the bathroom.
okay? Sick.
Because we are them.
We are in the bathroom with you. You just can't see
You
us.
can't come in actually because we're already in there.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll be out in a minute.
Yeah, we're watching a few TikToks.
Yeah.
Just like, stay put.
Just give us a moment.
Yeah.
We're just trying to gather our thoughts and recharge a social battery.
Yeah. I also think, like, to add to what Janke said now, is like people want to listen. They don't want to listen to the same thing that's happening on the dance floor and in the bathroom. Like, but I think also, like, obviously there are songs that you can listen to in the bathroom and cry, but I think people want to listen to it in their language, in their mother language. So, yeah, I think that is also, people are tired of listening to English when they want to cry. I want to cry in Afrikaans. No.
Something that's quite interesting to me is, and I'm sure you will relate to this, or like, I'm sure I don't really have to explain a lot about it, but just like you get English humor and Afrikaans humor, it's so niche. It's so difficult to explain to someone, like, why is something that is so funny to Afrikaans people not funny to English people, and vice versa. And I feel like you sort of have the same experience when it comes to art or expressing your emotions. there are certain ways to express it in English, and there are certain ways to express it in Afrikaans. And when you are a native Afrikaans speaker, it just, or a native speaker of any language, it's always just going to hit harder in your home language. Because obviously, people who form part of different demographics, language wise, they also have their own communities, and every community has a specific set of problems. Yes, there are universal problems, we're all dealing with similar things, but there are very niche things. And one thing that people often say to writers is, don't be afraid to go for the niche, because the connection that you're going to get when someone gets it is so valuable. Whereas if you would just write something general, yeah, maybe people are going to relate 20% to it, but if you could just get that 90, that 100, why not?
Fuck, I'm actually speechless. Yeah, bang on. You're 100% right. Like, it's having something that relates to you specifically, not just the words itself, but like in terms of a cultural significance, that this person not only relates to you in terms of how they're feeling, but from a cultural aspect as well, from like from the very core of that like concept is extremely important. So yeah, I think like, yeah, I'm really glad that I got to chat to you guys about this, because it's definitely been as insightful as I hoped it would be. So like I am grateful for that.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.